The Three Tips. Once upon a time, on the magnificent shores of a small village, a young newlywed couple whose life was marked by hardship. One day the husband, moved by his desire to give his wife a better life, asked him the following: "My beloved, I have made a decision. I am going to undertake a trip in search of a job that will guarantee us a more and dignified future. I can't predict how long I will be playing, but I ask that during my absence, remain faithful as I will be to you." With the vigor of youth and unwavering hope, the young traveler traveled long distances on foot until fortune smiled at him and found a landowner who needed help on its extensive property, volunteered for work, and his proposal was accepted. Confident in the value of his work, "I need a deal from your registry," which was also accepted. "Allow me to work for as long as I deem necessary, and when you decide it's time to leave, you will release me from my duties. I do not wish to receive my salary now, but I prefer you to accumulate it in a savings account until the day I left. At that time, you will give me the profits you have made." With the firmly established agreement, the young man worked tirelessly for 2 decades. 20 years without vacations or breaks. After that time, approached his employer and told him, "Pattern, I want to collect my salary now, since I have decided to return home." The employer nodded and spoke, "I will very well comply with our pact. However, before doing so, I would like to offer you an alternative proposal. I can give you your money and you leave, or I offer you 3 tips. But in that case, you will not receive the money. Reflect on the privacy of your room and the privacy of your room. Once you have made the decision, come back and share it with me." The men reflected intensely for 2 days, and at the end of the day, he headed decisively towards his employer. "I have opted for the 3 tips stated." His list nodded to remind him once again, "If you opt for the advice, you give up the money you have accumulated." The resolute worker insisted, "I continue to opt for advice." The employer then shared his words of friendship. "First, never take shortcuts in life. The shortest and most narrow roads can carry deadly dangers. Second, never succumb to darkness for evil, as such fascination can prove fatal. Third party avoids making decisions in times of hatred or pain, because these can lead you to deep and lasting repentance." With the advice given, the employer gave the man, who was no longer so young, 3 loaves of bread. 2 of them will be to sustain your journey, and the third to share with your wife upon arrival at your home. After 20 years away from home and wife, whom he loved so much, the man set out on his way back. On his first day of travel, a passerby greeted him and asked him his fate. The wild man, "I go to a distant place, more than 20 days on the road along this route." The passerby informed him about a shortcut that would significantly reduce your trip. The man, tempted by the opportunity, was about to follow the suggested path when he recalled the first advice: "Never take shortcuts in your life. The shortest and most narrow roads can cost you your life." With this smile resonating in his mind, decided to stay on the original route. 2 days later, found out from another traveler that the person who had taken the shortcut had been the victim of a violent robbery, being beaten and stripped of all his belongings. That convenient shortcut had been an ambush. The chairmanship of the first board was revealed in full. After several more days of travel, exhausted and longing for rest, the man found an inn on the side of the road. Although it was late at night and everything seemed calm, a woman with a frightening gesture opened the door and put him in a house. So exhausted was he who paid the daily fee without asking questions, and after a restorative bath, retired to sleep. Of the night was interrupted by a chilling scream that woke him up with a shock. Alarmed, set out to investigate the origin of the terrifying sound, but at the door of his room recalled his employer's second piece of advice: never be curious about what evil represents, for misfortune for evil can be fatal. Decided to ignore the disturbing cry and return to his bed. At dawn during breakfast, the owner of the inn asked him if he had heard the scream. The man nodded, but when asked if he had not been bullied, denied. The inn owner, in amazement, informed him that he had been lucky, for the inn was harassed at night by a woman with a fit of insanity that let out horrendous screams and killed any guest who came out to investigate. The man continued his journey, more and more German, to be reunited with his home and his wife. After long days and nights of walking, at sunset spotted the smoke from the fireplace of his small house among the trees. As he approached, saw the silhouette of his wife in the garden, but as he approaches, noticed that she was not alone. A man rested next to her, while the woman caressed his hair. The vision of this scene filled his heart with bitterness and jealousy, and decided to run towards them, ready to his anger. However, in his haste he recalled the third piece of advice: never make decisions in times of hatred and pain. You may regret it too late. Then stopped his, consumed by internal conflict, and decided to spend the night there. It was promised that at dawn, with a clear mind from sleep, I would make a decision. In the morning light, after long hours of introspection, resolved, I will not murder my wife or the man. I will return to the employer and ask him to me. But before, I must tell my wife that I have always been loyal to her. With firm determination, approached the door of the house and ended up when his wife opened the door and recognized him, threw herself at his neck, fondly embracing him. He tried to push her away, but it was painful. With eyes full of tears, he told you, I was always loyal to you, but you betrayed me. She was terrified and answered, I have never betrayed you. I waited for you for 20 years. He then comments about man that she had been fondling the evening before. With tenderness, she too. That man is our son. When you left, I found out I was pregnant. He is now 20 years old. The husband, moved by the revelation, entered the house, met her son and hugged him, told him all his story, and while his wife was preparing dinner, sat together to share the last bread, the one that the employer had set for the wife. Between tears of emotion, took the bread and realized that it was too heavy. Missed, he broke the bread, and when he opened it, found 3 small gold bars, 10 diamonds, and 2 rubies. The fruit of its 20 years of dedication and work. Proverbs 19:20. Listen to advice and accept instructions, and will end up being wise. I am of God.